What about the
All right, welcome back, everybody. It is the Awesemo.com Nhl Dfs strategy show, and we're going to get right to it in just a second here. We've got a 13-game slate. I'm Jake Hari, joined by Josh Harris. How's it going, Josh?
Going pretty good. Got a huge slate tonight, so we gotta talk fast, man.
Yeah, we're going to hit on all the highlights and such. Not really a whole lot to go over last night. Played the showdown. Brendan Sutter's the GOAT. Otherwise, just chalk that one up to variance. So you played Brendan Sutter.
Your State Kings, but you marked it up to 3.05.
Yeah. I was over on State Kings. So tonight it's 5x. Feel free to buy some of my action over there. No, you won't catch me on State Kings. That's a topic for not a 13-game slate, but. Yeah, I mean it's a massive slate. Like, what's your general thoughts on like these huge slates? Like, people say ownership doesn't matter. I think to some extent it doesn't, but like you're still gonna have some lines that are like 3 points higher projected, and 5 times the ownership than a line in a similar price range. So I think like those types of things, ownership definitely matters, but like. Yeah, I don't think you have to worry about necessarily hammering Colorado 1 if you love them. You don't have to worry about Edmonton 1. Just what are your general thoughts here?
Well, so one of the things I've been noticing earlier in the season, like on these medium, 6 to 8 game slates, you see the winning lineups are not totally correlated, and people have been going away from that just because with the arbitrary bonuses now, you don't necessarily need a full correlated 4-3-1 to win. But on a slate this huge, if you're trying to pull like a single bullet from this game, you're trying to do this from that, I think what I do, at least, I try to simplify it and I try to correlate as highly as possible, just because you have to get less right on such a huge slate. So like if you're pulling from like 4 different teams, like a single bullet here, there's more chances of you getting something wrong. And on these big slates, unless there's like a definitive chalk line that goes absolutely ham, like there's going to be multiple paths to victory tonight. So I think correlation is key today.
Yeah, for sure. I'm definitely prioritizing correlation. I'm trying to fit in a bunch of 4-3-1s, some power play stacks, and just hope that you can get the game or the team that has 6 goals or whatever, because there's going to be some weird stuff happening tonight. But if a second line goes off for 3 goals, but they're 0.5% ownership, they might not even be in a winning lineup in a large field tournament, and especially not in like a smaller field like the Spin tonight on DK, 50K to first. I know you're in that. I've got a couple in there, so should be a lot of fun. We don't get 50K to first up top too often, and pretty decent payout structure after that. I think it's $200,000 in total prize. So it's not the 50K to first, 10K to second, $100 to third type of deal that they sometimes have on there. If you get into the top 3, top 5, you're going to be looking pretty good. So that's the goal. We're going to try to help everybody take it down if we can't take it down ourselves. So let's get right into this. First game, we've got Pittsburgh and Boston, 2.8 implied total for the Penguins, 3.1 for the Bruins. No David Pastrnak quite yet. He's eyeing a Saturday return. I thought I saw a news blurb about that.
Yeah.
So I think a couple more games, Boston won't have him. It's DeBrusk on the top line still. Saw this line go off over the weekend. I don't know. Is there anything that you love right off the bat? We can't hit on too much stuff, but any highlights to this game?
I mean, if the Bergeron line is going to go out against the Crosby line, which is looking like it will, on this big of a slate, single entry, 3 lineups, I'm not interested in either of these top lines. If you're doing 150 max, you want, it's probably not the best play, but these are 2 elite lines. So, I mean, if you're MMEing and you want some pieces of that, bless you. If you want some pieces of that, I think in MME, it's perfectly acceptable. If the Coyle line might be going out against Malkin tonight too. That kind of favors Boston a little bit here. I kind of like the Boston second line, Ritchie, Krejci, and Studnicka. That's where I would be in this game. I also like Tuukka Rask. It's not very often you see the Penguins with an under 3 total, so think goalie is a pretty good spot for them.
Yeah, I would be looking at the top line here, but like there's so many spots. Even with 150 lineups, I'm not getting to very much Boston 1. So I might bump that up, crunch out a few, and see if I can fit them in. Because I don't like having 0 when they're going to be 3%. It's still Bergeron, Marchand.
Yeah.
Brusk is a decent enough player, especially at 4,300. So the matchup at 5-on-5 is going to be tough. I think on both sides, Crosby, Gensel, really good combo, offensively, defensively. And then same thing with Bergeron and Marchand. Not really a lot. Like I don't really want to target pit 1 against like going into Boston with last change and pretty decent depth as well. So
I mean, the Penguins fully correlate on the power play on the top line because didn't Rust move up last game? So a couple lineups, no, but like if you have some FOMO for a fully correlated power play 1 elite line, I think you can dabble a little bit there.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, they're getting more ownership than I thought. I thought we might see them at like 1 or 2%. They're like almost 5%, which doesn't seem like a lot, but there's only a few, like there's only 10 lines or so right now that are over 5% in the top stacks tool. So, yeah, it's like basically choose whoever you want and maybe get different at 1 or 2 spots if you're playing the absolute chalk. But yeah, I'm not crazy about anything in this game. Letang, McAvoy, really no one on the blue line that I'm going out of my way to play on this one. All right, let's move it on to the next one. This is one we're going to have a little bit more interest in, I think. Rangers and Sabres, 3.1 implied total for the Rangers. 3 implied total for the Rangers, 3.1 for the Sabres. Georgiev and Allmark are expected to go. We've got a new look Rangers line, I think, since the last time we've been on. So they might have played together last time. Zibanejad, Kreider, Lafreniere, and then Strome, Panarin, and Buchnevich. So Lafreniere and Buchnevich basically just swap spots. They kept the same top 6. Thought maybe that Hall and Eichel were going to be split up to start the game, but it looks like that is not going to be the case. They had skated with Reinhart earlier this morning. So we did get a decent amount of news this morning, and it looks like all the lines are updated in FC. If you guys are wondering, I'll let you know of any changes that you need to make manually as we go. A lot to remember on this slate, but what are you looking at for this game?
Well, I mean, the first thing that jumps out to me is the Rangers top line is incredibly cheap. Kreider's only 4,000. Zibanejad is down to 6,600. He was up in the 8,000s earlier this year. Lafreniere, 2,900. He hasn't been great, but his first 2 games on the top line at the Rangers, they went up against Crosby. So he also is a rookie 5 games into his rookie season. This is also a pretty good bounce back spot for Buffalo 1. They haven't been great recently, but they have been generating a good amount. And you know how the Rangers are. They're very bad defensively, even if Jack Johnson's out. Once you get past the Adam Fox pairing, it is not great. And if I were the Sabres coach, I would put them out against the bottom 6 because Philip Hedl is out and Brett Howden is on the third line center. I don't know how he keeps getting into the lineup. Maybe he has some dirt on the coach, but for me, it's the Rangers top line, the Buffalo top line. I mean, you can get to some Rangers too. They're a bit pricey. Like Booch at 6,000 doesn't really inspire confidence to me.
Is it going to be?
Yeah.
A little bit?
Yeah, that's fair enough. For me on this side, I really like Buffalo 1, but they're one of the more owned lines of the entire slate. They're actually coming up a little bit under owned according to the top stack tool on DraftKings, which I like to see. I think they're one of the premier spots on the entire slate. I mean, regardless of who they go up against, I don't think they're going to have a tough time generating offense. They're fully correlated on the power play. There's just very few, if any, holes that I can poke in Buffalo's top line. And I think they're priced appropriately as well. Like pricing is actually pretty tight, which I don't love. I like when they make it the pricing softer on the big slates, and then you can just kind of take advantage, especially as an MME guy. But it is difficult to make a lineup tonight that you're really in love with. And so that's what's keeping Buffalo 1 a little bit lower owned than probably they should be tonight. So really like them. Not interested in a whole lot on or below Buffalo 1. If you want to throw in Rasmus Dahlin, he's going to be low owned. $4,100 power play quarterback with the top line. I mean, sure, I'm doing a lot of 4-3-1s I'll probably have a couple Buffalo power play stacks in there as well. So he'll sneak into a couple of my Buffalo ones. And then on the Rangers side, let me see here. I know I was getting to one of these lines. Now I can't remember which one it was when I was crunching right before this.
Like the second line's like 17-3 compared to 13-5 for the Zibanejad line. So,
yeah,
I mean, I guess from an ownership perspective, the Strome line's going to be way lower owned. They avoid Eichel, but I don't know. Strome has been bad.
Yeah, so I'm in line actually with the ownership projections. We've got the top line being pretty significantly higher owned, about double the ownership, if not more. And I'm getting to a little bit more of them when I factor in ownership. So you're probably looking at more of a balanced build. And there are a bunch of really good mid-tier lines. There's a bunch of good lines in every tier, really. But yeah, there's a ton of lines to pair New York Rangers one with. So that's the one that I'm getting to. I suppose you could power play stack the Rangers. I don't think I included them in some power play stacks that I ran, but
I mean,
not a bad idea.
I mean, if you want to go the 4-man, I think it's better than the 5-man. You know, Zibanejad, Kreider, Panarin, and Fox, because Fox is 6,600 now. His price like went through the roof. Strome 4,500. If you want like a fully correlated power play for a decent salary, but he's kind of just like he just kind of is on the ice saying, "Hey, I'm on power play 1," but doesn't really do much.
Yeah, I mean, you're just locking in Strome for 2 goals right now.
Yeah,
just ragging on you while leaving him off.
I'm doing what you did to Tom Wilson the other night, and I almost did it to Kevin Hayes the other day. Yeah, on Sunday, I was like, "There's no way you can play Kevin Hayes against Bergeron." He almost scored a second goal, and I was just like, "Man, I gotta stop talking."
Yeah, got to be careful when you're dismissing guys. The NHL DFS gods, if they're out there.
I mean, this is my team,
so I was already dismissing one of my favorites to dismiss earlier in Slack, so we'll get to him in just a bit. Are we all set on this one?
Yeah, I mean, Georgiev is okay because he's 7,300. If you're correlating with Rangers, I think he sees a good volume. I think cheap Rangers goalies, there's a good play all season. Eventually, it's going to work because they give up a ton of chances.
All right, I concur. Philadelphia Flyers, New Jersey Devils. 3.1 implied total for the Flyers, 2.6 for the Devils. Brian Elliott confirmed. So we are good there. It's looking like it's going to be Scott Wedgwood again for the Devils. Blackwood is still on the COVID list, so I don't believe he's available to play. Just check projections. And just another PSA. Well, 2 things. You're going to want to run your crunches early. It's not Fantasy Cruncher's fault. If you put in rules or any sort of stacks, it's just going to take a while. So make sure you have a dummy crunch out. I mean, you should always do this earlier in the day, but make sure you have something out where you at least have reasonable lineups that you could make manual changes to. If you're MMEing, if you're making one lineup, you can kind of ignore me and just wait until the last possible second and hand build. And then make sure each time you upload projections that you are taking out the projections that you currently have in there. So delete all the projections you have in there. There's a way you just go to actions on the bottom right in FC, remove my projections. It'll ask you if you're sure, just say sure, and then re-upload if that's how you upload Fantasy Cruncher projections. So just be aware of that because sometimes you're going to end up with goalies that we had projected earlier in the day, and then they'll come out, but you'll forget to take the projections out, and then you are very sad when you're playing goalies that aren't starting. So it's happened to me a couple times. Anyways, what about this game here? Maybe some value on the Devils side, but the higher implied total is with the Flyers here. Half goal implied higher. Still having trouble finding something I like on this Flyers side.
Yeah. I know these are small samples because we're only 5 games into the season, but like the Flyers line numbers have been atrocious. They've been getting throttled. So like if the Hughes line is going out against the Patrick, Connect, and the Giroux line, I like the Hughes line there for sure. Hughes and Palmieri power play 1. Sharon Govich, I believe, is off the power play now. I think they moved Miles Wood up or Zajac. I kind of like, I don't love any of these Devils lines, but like if you're using a really expensive line, Colorado one, like a line like that, I think any of these top three lines for the Devils, I think you are in play. Even the Gusev, Zacha, Merkley. I know Merkley is kind of just who he is, but like I don't mind the Zacha Gusev pairing. Their power play too. They cost $7,000 for the two of them. I mean, I don't know if you need to get to a third line that cheap because there's a ton of like first and second lines with better value around the same price. If you're looking for like a 0.2% line play, this might be the one.
Yeah. Man, I actually like that third line. I think I was talking to you about this in DMs earlier. I mean, second, third line, whatever you want to call it, however you want to place these guys. I mean, Hughes
after the top line, it's kind of just whatever, you know.
Yeah. So Zacha, Gusev, I like that duo. I'll probably have at least more than the field on this Devils third line. Yeah, you mentioned the numbers for some of these Flyers lines are just brutal.
Bad, but it's a really small sample. But
yeah, I mean it's a bad sample though. So you know, at least something that you could point to and say might want to target against that. So maybe they'll be bad for the whole season. Maybe they'll turn it around.
But in 3 games, this Patrick line is giving up 17 high danger scoring chances per 60. In 3, I mean it's 3 game sample, but like that's wild.
That's miserable. Yeah. So yeah, I like it. I mean, not in love with the Zajac line. I guess you get 2 guys in the top power play there, but they're probably going to have their hands full with the Hayes, Van Riemsdyk, and Voracek line. I mean, I don't know how great that line's going to be, but it is their best one that they've got going so far. So I think either the first line or the third line for the Devils. And then I can't really pick a line that I like on this Flyers team. To be honest, I don't even know if I got to any of them on DK. Yeah, I got to a couple of the top line. That's it.
The Hayes line?
Yeah, Hayes, JVR, and Voracek.
Yeah, I'm not really sure how they split their power play time, but that Hayes line is fully correlated power play too. And then the Patrick, I don't know if it's like a 1A, 1B power play really, because you know the Patrick line is fully correlated on the power play too, but they're really cheap. I think Konechny is their best player, but that line as a whole, it doesn't really interest me.
Yeah, just kind of nothing to really point my finger to and say I really want to play this on the Flyers side. So
the one thing I will say about this game, Shane, I'm going to call him Ghost Bear because that's what everyone calls him. He's back tonight. He's on the top pair with Provorov. He is min price 2,500 power play too. I think if you want a piece of that game, that's the piece you want to get.
I like it.
Ty Smith. Maybe even Ty Smith, power play 1 for the Devils, 3,700.
He's 3,700. If he was 2,700, maybe. He just doesn't – you got to play more than like 15, 16 minutes.
His minutes are a concern, but he got 2 assists last game?
Yeah. I think I had a couple sneak in with Ty Smith. So, yeah, I don't think tonight's the night. I'd rather have Subban for $500 more, and I'm not in love with that. Let's go to the Islanders and the Capitals. 2.9 implied total for the Isles, 2.5 for the Caps. Varlamov and Vanacek going for these two teams here. One thing I actually do really like something in this game if we're correct on ownership. Well, actually, 2 things in this game, maybe 3. So there it is. I guess I'm stacking up the game with the second lowest implied total on the slate. But yeah, I like a bunch here. What do you see?
So the Capitals have been setting out Backstrom against the top comp at home, not the Lars Eller line, which is a bit surprising to me. But Tom Wilson is out, right?
He is not. He is. I forgot to mention
this. Or is he in on the second line?
He's supposed to be in on the second line.
Okay.
We got him as a game time decision.
So the top line is Vrana, Backstrom, Oshie, right?
Yes.
So they're going to go up against the Barzal line, and I don't really like from someone who does minimal amount of lineups 1 to 3. This is a spot where it's kind of wishy-washy for me. Like I like them. I like both sides, but I don't know if I'm going to get there on a 1 to 3 lineups. If I was MMEing, even in 20 max, I would want some pieces of both these lines. Second line, if Wilson's in, Eller's their best defensive center, but he's probably going to go up against the Brock Nelson line, which has not been good. So, I mean, if I'm going to go to a cheap line in this game, it's going to be the second line with Panic, Eller, and Wilson.
Yeah, that's the line I like. I mean, just basically no ownership to Washington too. So You got Tom Wilson game time decision. Hand builders will just see that. Like, it's not like Wilson's great, but you're getting a line in the top 6 that's got no ownership. I think a pretty favorable matchup.
I actually think Tom Wilson's a good player. Like, good when he actually concentrates on playing hockey, not like, spearing someone in the nose with a stick, getting ejected. He's actually a good hockey player.
To his credit, he has done that much better. Like, I don't know. Did he get suspended last year? I don't know that he did.
I know
a couple of years ago.
Like 3 years ago. So yeah. I don't remember last season.
So once he started scoring goals, he stopped being like kind of a goon. So
he was a first-round pick for a reason. So
yeah. I don't know. So he's got some offensive game. I mean, going to slide in on the top power play, assuming he's good to go here. I think Panic drops down to the second unit, I want to say. Or maybe he drops off entirely. I'm not exactly sure.
I think Wilson's going to be on the second. I think the last game they ran Carlson and Schultz on the top power play with the top line.
Yeah, I don't like that. I mean, Schultz 3,100, but
yeah.
I hate stacking 2 defensemen on a power play.
Yeah, it's not great.
So yeah, I mean, the top line, I think for the Caps is a little bit more obvious just because they're fully correlated. They're reasonably priced. They have good numbers, much better than I thought going back to last season. So I'm in on both of the Caps top lines for MME. For like the spin, I'm going to be considering both of those 2 lines. And then if I'm just going to get no ownership on Barzal, Lee, and Eberle, that's always a line that I'm going to take at least a hard look at. Backstrom, Oshie, and Verana, like I said, good numbers offensively. Not like they're world beaters defensively. They are solid, but it's just an ownership play. And like, I just believe in the Barzal line so much that I don't really care who they're going up against.
You're going up against the hour line, it'd be different. I think they're a bit better defensively. Maybe not much better, but they would be better. So I think going against the Backstrom line, I think it's going to be a little bit more open for them.
Yeah. So there we go. The 5.4 implied total game. I guess 5.5 with juice to the under. And I just can't get enough of it, I guess. Pullock 4,500 is a guy I like if you're going, or Dobson, your boy Dobson, $3,800.
He's getting up there. Well, he was 2,900 when he went off. Now he's 3,800 on the third pair. I think I'd find the 700 to get the Pullock if I was going for the power play there.
And then Carlson, $7,100. There's quite a few good spend up defensemen. I think Carlson is in there for me. He's in the Yossi, Burns. Seth Jones is a different price point, but he's going to be one of my highest exposed defensemen with or without Washington stacks.
Oh yeah, I think using 2 mid-range lines and paying up for both defenseman spots is going to be a good way to get unique.
Yeah, love doing that. And then I like Vanacek also for 7,300, just cheap goalie. Should see decent enough volume, I would imagine. So
yeah, I mean that's the thing with the cheap goalies now. Like even if you know they're a bad goalie, like the Lankinen fella for the Hawks, you're playing him because the Hawks are just awful defensively. They're seeing shots, so these cheap goalies, you get the bonus, and if you get lucky and they get a win, they're probably going to be on a GVP winning lineup.
Yeah. Let's go to Florida and Columbus, 2.7 implied total for the Panthers, 2.9 for the Blue Jackets. Bobrovsky, Korpisalo, those are your goalies. CBJ, pretty popular here, both lines. I can't imagine what it'd be like if they just had one line that was worth playing. It looks like they've got 2. I mean, on a 13-game slate, are we just going to hammer this Columbus chalk?
I was looking at them earlier, and then I was thinking to myself, I was like, why would I do this to myself? Torts is the worst. Like halfway through the first period, like Riley Nash is going to be up with Cam Atkinson, and just like it's going to be a mess. But like if I was going to use one of these lines, I think I prefer the Jenner, Texier, Borkstrand line, just because Bjorkstrand is their best scorer. He's their best player. If I'm deciding between 2 lines on the same team that are comparable in ownership, I want the best player. And some Blue Jackets fans, if you exist, I don't know if you guys exist, but like Buddha's where's my man Buddha at? He's a Blue Jackets fan. He might yell at me on Twitter saying Atkinson's their best player, but I think it's Bjorkstrand. And then Seth Jones is just incredibly cheap tonight, 4,300. He's going to be popular. But like, if you're coming down to your last spot in your lineup and you have the salary for him, I'm not avoiding him because of the ownership.
Yeah. I mean, like I always say, just avoid the most popular combos with Seth Jones and Gostisbehere or something like that. Like, you don't want to get duped ever, but you don't want to get duped on a 13-game slate. And I'll probably end up with like 2 dupes, and people will check my lineups on Lineup Study, and they'll be like, "Ha, got you." But yeah, try to avoid dupes if you can. Just by being smart, leave a couple $100 left over. Like using 50K with Seth Jones, Columbus, one of these lines, and then Gostisbehere, and it fits perfectly with the correlated goalie. Like
It's probably
it's going to be duped a few times. So just try to avoid that in MME. It probably won't even be duped if you're playing the spin or a small field like that. It's just there's just not enough lineups to get that deep into the combos, I think. Yeah, I'm below the field on Columbus. Both of their top 2 lines. So I've got like 6 and 7%. So it's not like I'm just fading them entirely. I don't think you need to do that. It is a good spot. I somewhat believe in the Texier line, so I'm with you there. I love Bjorkstrand at 4,700. Probably going to be a cash favorite, as is Seth Jones. Those guys I think make for a really good 2-man. Maybe you leave off the rest of the guys and just hope that they can rack up the bonuses and combine for a goal or something like that. That might be a way to get different with your Blue Jackets stack. But yeah, it's just a little bit too much ownership for me to be wanting to go like 20% Columbus stacks or something like that on the slate. In MME, I don't think I'm going to get to full stacks of Columbus in the spin, in any of my spin lineups. So, well, we got 3 of them, but I don't think they'll be a part of that. I'm just going to go a different route and hope it works out. And if it doesn't, I'll have some MME bullets to hopefully save me there. Anything on the Florida side?
I want to like it, but like the Blue Jackets are a pretty decent defensive team. The power play to even strength correlation's a mess. Like Verhaeghe and Duclair on the top line with Barkov. Verhaeghe and Duclair power play 2, Barkov power play 1. Second line, Huberdeau, Hornquist on power play 1. Your boy Alex Wenberg power play 2. And then Florida does the double defenseman with Ekblad and Yandel. Ekblad 6,500, Yandel 4,800. So like, yeah, if I was MMEing, I'd probably have a power play stack or 2 just because I like the Barkov, Huberdeau, Hornquist combo. Like, if that was a line, I'd be very interested in that, but it's not. So for me, for the Panthers, I'd be power play stack or bust.
Yeah, I like the idea of a power play stack. I'm probably going to include them if I can go back and have time to finish my lineups. I don't think I did before because I'm not seeing any Barkov in my crunches here. And that's just because like Duclair projects okay, Verhaeghe is okay, and then Barkov's not a great value. So
yeah,
you kind of have to force them in to get there.
Even the strength lines aren't great. The power play is pretty good, though.
So, man, if Wenberg could just give you anything, I would be looking at the second line. Because the problem with Wenberg is the way that I play is a lot of even strength stacks. And so he kind of has to get included. He is 3,400, so maybe you could just find a guy that's cheaper and just go with Huberdeau and Hornquist and just global swap your Wenberg or something like that if you really, really don't want to play him. But if this is the one game where he gets 3 assists and Hornquist and Huberdeau go nuts and you miss out on the full stack, like
that's the thing, right?
So
it's like you go Huberdeau, Hornquist, Yandel, and have a different one off center than Wenberg. But if Wenberg like has 2 assists, he like trips and falls into a couple block shots, like you're not going to win.
Yeah, so I have that's probably enough Wenberg talk for a 13-game slate, but I have 4% of that line, so do with it what you will. Yeah, that's really all I got. I don't know ever what to do with this guy besides try to avoid playing him.
I kind of like the boys in this game too.
Yeah, I mean, low implied totals on both sides, both under 3. Bobrovsky, Korpisalo. You have a favorite one between those two?
If you want the Bobrovsky like back in Columbus narrative, I know this isn't his first year in Florida, but Bobrovsky is cheaper because he's the small road dog, and those road dogs are always cheaper and usually see more volume. The one thing I would imagine Korpisalo is the goalie who sees the more volume on this slate. But I think both these goalies are GPP plays, especially if you're correlating.
Yeah. All right. Do we have a – okay. Someone's asking a question in chat. Oh, someone likes my shirt, the Seattle Kraken. Yeah. Got this as a Christmas present. Where do you guys get your line matching data? I just go on Natural Stat Trick. How do you access the Slack chat? New Awesemo member made an account. Still can't get on. So you're going to go to the social tab on the Awesemo homepage, and then there's a link for Slack. If you haven't been with us before, just click that. And it's the first drop down on the desktop site. So just check that out. Follow those directions there. It's super easy. If not, you can just email support@Awesemo, and that will get you reactivated if you've been in Slack before. Couple more games, and then we will get to a little break. I'm going to sell you guys. Well, actually give you guys some stuff, not really sell. 2.8 implied total for the Hawks. 3.3 for the Preds. Malcolm Subban getting the start. Pecorine likely going for the Preds. Nashville 1 chalk. Nashville 2 sneaky popular as well. Good implied total for the Preds. And then you've got a couple defensemen, at least 2, probably 3 that are in play for the Preds as well. So they're very stackable.
Yeah.
What do you think of this ownership?
Yeah, I mean, that was when I was looking over the slate last night after I didn't have Brandon Suter in Showdown. So I was like, I might as well get a head start. Nashville 1 popped out immediately as this line's going to be chalk. And is Philip Forsberg Tuesday still a thing? Like, I saw people talking about it on Twitter today. It's just like, that was like 3 years ago. But the line is 15,000. They fully correlate on the power play. They're one of the lines that has a very large sample together. They're going against one of the worst defensive teams in the NHL. So obviously you're going to get ownership there, and I think it's deserved. That being said, I think I'm fading in this spot. Ryan Johansson, 4,000 Ryan Johansson's good, but when he gets up in like the 56, 5,700, starts to worry me. You can fit them in with Yossi. What concerns me there is, Yossi's going to be popular. Nashville 1 certainly going to be popular. So if you're going to use Nashville 1 here, you certainly want to differentiate yourself with a second line that is not going to be very high owned, just so you're not playing a full chalky lineup on a 13-game slate. I did hear some, the second line is very cheap. Duchesne, Mikael Granlund, Luke Kunin. They're going to be pretty popular as well. I think they're going to be one of the more popular second lines just based off price, and you get 3,900 Duchesne on the top power play. Personally, I'm not going there as well. When the Preds are chalk, I kind of try to avoid it, and if they beat me, they beat me. But this is one of those teams where it's like they're not an elite team anymore. So I'm just going to fade and pray. But Yossi 6,100 power play 1 is in play for sure. Ryan Ellis 5,700 on the top pair with Yossi power play 2. And then my favorite, if you need a little bit of salary, is Matthias Ekholm 3,900 power play 2. He sees a ton of minutes, 3,900, gets some power play exposure. I think that is a good play as well. And then I'm not going to dismiss the Blackhawks side here. They've been creating and scoring, not at a great clip. The problem is DeBrincat is on the COVID-19 list now, so Andrew Shaw moves up with P.S. Suter and Patrick Kane. That is a downgrade. So for me, I'm going to be looking at that second line again: Kubelik, Strome, Kurashev. In a small sample, they have very good numbers. Granted, it's a small sample. I mean, they don't have numbers from last year, obviously. But for me, if I'm going to look to differentiate, if I'm using a chalky line, I think Chicago 2 is a decent spot to look.
I wasn't really targeting the Chicago line, but you make a good point on the second line. It just no ownership, potential leverage play off the Nashville chalk. I'm not exactly sure if there's negative correlation there, but
after Kane, like Kubelik is their best scorer, and he shoots the puck a lot. So I don't know if I would want to say, like, I want to use a Blackhawk in cash on a 13-game slate. Like, probably not. But if I was, it would probably be Kubelik.
Yeah. I mean, Kane projects pretty well. He's up there as one of the higher raw point projected guys.
Yeah.
So
he's almost 8,000. So
right.
I don't know if I want to plant the flag on the Blackhawks on this slate.
Especially if Shaw is playing on the top line and like Suter coming off the hat trick. Maybe the game log watchers click on him. On the Nashville side for me, in MME, and really in all my tournament lineups, I don't think I'm going to be over the field on them. There would have to be quite a change of events. I'm at like closer to 5-6% on Nashville 1. I do like the second line. I'm closer to the field, if not slightly over. They're one of my favorite second lines. Granlund he's not a $3,300 player. I think Cunnin could potentially be a solid player in the top 6 as well. And then Duchesne, top power play, $3,900. So I thought it would be more of a leverage play off of Nashville 1, but they're popular too. So maybe not going to pair them with Colorado 1. If you're thinking about doing that, it's not that sneaky. You can fit Nashville 2 pretty easily with them. But other than that, like if you wanted to go some sort of Toronto stack or Calgary, I don't know, there's a bunch of games to choose from. So if you're not pairing them with Colorado 1, or even if you are, but you're playing some weird defenseman or goalie, you might be okay. And then Yossi, he's number 1 for me. Everyone's been burned by him so far this season. I mean, if he doesn't get there on this spot, doesn't get you, 18, 20 DK points or more, I don't know. I'm just going to eat it, and half my lineups will be dead. So it just, if you do want to maybe get some leverage off of him, Ellis is cheaper, less owned, and then I like that home call at all. So those are the 3 defensemen I'm looking at on Nashville. Kings and the Wild, 2.5 implied total for the Kings, 3 for the Wild. Cal Peterson and Kaapo Kähkönen are your projected starters. Fiala moves up with Bukestad and Parise. Kaprizov moves down, quote unquote, to the second line, still top 6. And then you've got this third line for Minnesota that sees probably the Kopitar line tonight, right?
Yeah, I would imagine so.
Yeah. So what does that do for you here? Minnesota, slam them?
Oh, I love Minnesota tonight. And I like Fiala up on this top line now with Parise and Bukestad. I don't really want to play 5,100 Zach Parise, but like this is such a good spot. Like especially if they're going to go against the Kings' second or third line, like they're bad. Like I don't care what the sample size is. Like Andres Anthony is not a good defensive player for like all the skills he has offensively. Defensively, he's lacking. And like Jeff Carter is. Maybe he is a dinosaur already. Like he's just not the defensive player he was when he was on the Flyers. And then Blake Lizotte is, he's still a young player.
Yeah.
And then so if that Bukestad line's going up against them, I would want to be very heavy on the Minnesota top line. So even that second line, Bonino, Kaprizov, they're not going to be getting the Kopitar line. So again, I'm not a Marcus Johansson guy, but for 3,000, you can put him in there and hope he, donks an assist on one of the goals. The thing is weird. Like every time I think the Kopitar line is not going to be high owned, they've been getting a lot of ownership recently. But Kopitar, leads the NHL in points? I think.
Crazy. What a throwback.
Like he's up there, so like. I mean, they're going to see the Joel Eriksson-Ek line, and they've been very good defensively. They've been their best defensive line last season, this season. I don't really like anything on the Kings tonight at all. Like, if you want to punt, like, Sean Walker for power play 2, like, there's better options at 3,400 or cheaper. So, like, for me, like, I'm off the Kings here. I'm on the Wild side for sure. I really like Kaapo Kähkönen tonight, too, 8,000.
Yeah, I love the Wild tonight. Especially if their ownership stays in check. I mean, obviously that's for everyone, but it sounds like you like the Wild. It sounds like Avery likes the Wild as well. So I think we're all in agreement here. Really good spot. A couple of good value lines. Like I don't think this is that much different of a spot than Nashville, the last game we just talked about, right? Like lower implied total, sure, that's going to boost all the Nashville guys' projections and make them a little bit better projected plays, but the ownership difference between the two that we're projecting right now is just way, way too high. So I love the Minnesota top 6. Like this Bonino, Johansson, Kaprizov line, or maybe some sort of power play stack. You get in Fiala, Parise instead of Johansson, and then play Bonino or something like that.
Yeah.
I really like the combos you can do here.
I think people stay off the top line. I think the ownership's a little bit lower because Bukestad isn't on the power play, and it was Victor Rask up there before a couple games ago, and he's what he is. I mean, Bukestad isn't anything special, but he's better than Victor Rask. He could at least skate.
Yeah, Rask. That's kind of amazing that's what they started their season with is Rask. Let's put him with Fiala and Kaprizov and those guys. Real smart. But yeah, the King side, I just don't want to go up against this Eriksson at Greenway Foligno line. Like they're massive and they're really good at slowing the pace down. So maybe Kopitar is going to be amazing again this season, and it just won't matter. But this is a really brutal matchup for 13 game slate.
Joe Eriksson line has a large sample. It's like over 3 hours long, and they're only allowing 2 high danger scoring chances per 60 and an expected goal against of like 1. It's well below league average. This is one of the better defensive lines in the NHL.
Yeah. Any defensemen here?
Yeah. I mean, if so, the Wild always changes defenseman on the power play like every game. I don't know why, but Spurgeon's still on power play 1. He's 4,000. Suter, I guess, is back on power play 1. He's 4,600. I prefer Spurgeon there, 4,000. I think Jonas Brodin, 3,400 power play 2. I like him. If you want to spend for Dumba, spend for Dumba. He's not my guy. For me, it'd be Spurgeon, then Brodin, then Suter.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to do with these defensemen. I saw a couple Brodins pop up in my lineup. I saw, I think a couple Dumbas, and then not much Spurgeon at all. So if the Minnesota defensemen hurt me tonight, that's fine. But yeah, it's not great. They're just 4 defensive playing the power play, and then maybe switch them in games sometime. Like they don't have a great power play to start with, so not really a defenseman that I'm in love with. Before we move it on to the next game, we do have a couple free things. So we're starting the free premium content again since we've got some of these deals. Since we've had some of these deals and they're ending, NHL rankings are free today. Go find those. I think Nightbot tweeted those out a couple times. Find them in the YouTube chat. And then free NBA projections as well. If you're playing NBA tonight, in about 50 minutes, those guys are going live for the deeper dive and live before lock. They'll take you all the way up to lock. And then I can't remember tonight if we have a late slate show, but we've been doing some late slate shows. There's some big tournaments for those as well. So go check those out. We got a bunch of hosts doing a really good job. And you can basically get content anytime you want on the Awesemo YouTube channel. So hit us with a like and subscribe. That helps us out a ton, as you guys know. And then if you're watching the show and you're playing some NHL DFS, if you want to join, we've got packages for $3.95 per week. That's what it starts at. You can also get Fantasy Cruncher if you would like to add that on. So with that, you get the NHL projections, ownership projections, top stack tool, the lineup builder, and very importantly, maybe the most importantly, premium Slack for NHL. So finding that late news is massive. Get some ownership edges. Make sure you're playing the right combos. If you are throwing some MME bullets in there, like I like to do from time to time, get in that Slack. Make sure you do when you join, because that's where you're going to find a lot of site information as well as just general news if you're playing DFS. Edmonton and Winnipeg, 3.2 implied total for both sides here. Pretty much a dead split. Mikko Koskinen and Connor Hellebuck are your goalies. You saw this game the other night. I think it ended right at the buzzer with the Draisaitl goal. I want to say it was like 5-4 or 4-3, something along those lines. Lot to like here, I think. Puljujarvi moving up to the top line. He did it over the weekend, but he's going to play there again. It appears Edmonton found something they like there. Maybe it'll stick for more than 2 games. Maybe not. What are you liking in this game?
I really wanted to like Winnipeg top line just because the McDavid line hasn't been great defensively. But Winnipeg is not good 5-on-5. Like the top line isn't, like, for how much they produce and how often they're chalk, I want them to be so much better 5-on-5 if I'm going to use them. Mm-hmm. So for me, on the Winnipeg side, I really like the second line. They're probably going to have some decent ownership tonight. just if you like game log them, you're going to see that they've been going nuts. Cop, Stastny, Ehlers, like it's not like doesn't have like that name value. It's not super sexy, but like they're going to go up against Draisaitl or even the tourist line, and I think that's a very favorable matchup for them. So for me, the top line at Edmonton, I think, just because the Scheifele line isn't great 5-on-5, and McDavid's McDavid. He's the best skater and scorer in the NHL. Second lines, I prefer Winnipeg. Puljujarvi has been working in on power play one. I don't know if he's necessarily going to be there like all game, but if Neil continues to be skating like he's in cement, like I could see Puljujarvi moving up. And I've gotten a bunch of questions about one-offing Neil. 2,800 power play one, I get it. It's just not something that I want to do.
Yeah, I didn't. So did you see that at morning skate, or was that just during the game they had Puljujarvi on the top power play?
I think he played a little bit there last game. I forget where I saw it. Someone shared it in the Slack chat this morning. It might have been Cliffy, actually.
I mean, if that's a possibility, then I might just make that change in FC or just replace Neil with Puljujarvi manually on the lineups I've already generated. That'll be another boost up for him. That would be another boost up for Edmonton one. You get them fully correlated. Even if they're not, I think Edmonton one is a premier play. Real shocking. Connor McDavid is an awesome play at 12% ownership or whatever. But yeah, I think they're going to be dominant at 5-on-5, at least offensively. And I hope they go up against Scheifele, Connor, and Wheeler. They're not that great defensively. And like you said, they're not that great offensively either. So the ownership, at least at 5-on-5, they're fully correlated on power play. Like you can always play them. Their ownership is in check. I think they're fine tonight. Winnipeg one's fine tonight. But I really do like the second line as well. So I'm right there with you. Just insane numbers in a pretty short sample. I like that they're kind of not correlated. I think people are going to leave off Cop. They'll probably leave off Stastny and go Wheeler one off and something like that. But I like the full second line going up against the Edmonton depth. I'm pretty excited about this game overall, and I'm definitely going to mix in some 4- and 5-man power play stacks now that Puljujarvi is potentially on the top power play. We don't know for sure, but potentially.
We may see a little bit. I wouldn't expect him there like all game, but like he may work himself in later in the game if he's playing well.
Yeah. Josh in chat says he was out there for the game winner for sure on the power play. So coaches love that stuff. I mean, they come back, they make a line change in the middle of the game or flip one guy, and they just think that they're unbeatable. So they often stick with that. But we will see. Darnell Nurse, $4,300. If Seth Jones wasn't on the slate, he would be probably crazy chalk. He's still going to be popular, I think, in this range. And Morrissey as well. But like Morrissey's probably not someone that I would seek out to play by himself. Whereas Nurse, I think you can play him with Edmonton one or without him. Just whatever the optimizer gives me of Nurse, I'm good with that. People asking where shit my money is. Can't read all the chat right now. But I'm sure you guys are bringing some hot takes. I see a couple in there that I'm not going to comment on. We good on this game?
Yeah, I mean, goalies, if you're correlating only for me, I'm not interested too much in both sides.
Did you mention Pionk? I think you did, but I don't remember.
I did not, but if I'm going to one-off someone from Winnipeg, it'll be Pionk over Morrissey. Morrissey is just kind of a correlation play for a power play stack or a Winnipeg one stack.
Agreed. Yeah, I like Pionk. He's probably going to be like my 5th, 6th, 7th highest owned defenseman tonight. And yeah, I like him as a one-off, not necessarily stacking him with anyone. Just think a pretty good play for 4K. Projects well for us. Detroit and Dallas, 2.3 implied total for the Wings, 3.1 for the Stars. Grice projected, doesn't really matter. Khudobin for the Stars, who ran over Nashville in one game, and I think they beat them in the second game as well. But no Detroit one, no classic Detroit one, at least not to start with. So on a 13-game slate, maybe they get put back together, but I don't really need to X out anyone necessarily, but yeah, who knows what they're going to do with their lines from shift to shift. And then game time decision on Jamie Benn, I believe, for the for the Stars. And I think he's going to slot in for Tanner Caro if he plays.
Well, Tanner, I think if Ben plays, it'll be with Hintz and Gurionov, and then Tanner Caro would be with Pavelski and Radulov, maybe.
Oh, okay. So nice. I mean, that's the line I want to play: Pavelski, Radulov, and Caro. Anyways, but yeah. What do you like in this game?
Yeah, I mean, if Detroit had a playable line, maybe, but like Glasshill is just, I don't know what he's doing. I don't know how he still has a job. It's just tough to play the wings when he's doing this to their lines. Like power play ones over 3 even strength lines. Larkin and Bertuzzi together is okay. I'd rather Larkin and Mantha be together. I think that'd be a bit easier combo to play. So for wings, I'm probably not going to get there. Dallas, I mean, the first line's okay. I mean, if Ben is in, yeah, I'll have some interest in the top line. Ben isn't the player he was, 3 years ago when he was better. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Like he's kind of like just kind of fading out. But like for me, the second line or a power play stack. So like if Ben is out, I'm more inclined to power play stack because Ben would probably slot in the power play 1. But if Ben's out, it's probably going to be Hintz, Gurionov, Pavelski, Radulov, and Klingberg. So I'd definitely be more inclined to power play stack then. If Ben's in, Dallas 2, Pavelski, Radulov, and Tanner Caro. It's only 13.5, same price as Rangers 1. There'll be less ownership, and I think that is the line I want to attack there.
Yeah, I like both Dallas lines to some extent, but I'm hoping they keep Pavelski, Radulov, and Caro together. Just cheap and hopefully sees the Red Wings depth. Even if they don't see the Red Wings depth, like they're seeing the Red Wings. So that's pretty good right there.
That's an oxymoron. Everyone on the Red Wings is depth besides like Larkin at this point.
Yeah. So unless they have that top line together with Mantha, like there's really no line that you even need to think about avoiding for Detroit. So is this right? 8 power play goals in 2 games for Dallas? I know they had a ton.
They're like 8 for 12. It's just ridiculous.
Well, I mean, how can you not just hammer the 66% power play team against the Red Wings then? I mean, this will surely keep up. I'm sure they'll go 0 for 7 tonight. And
you got to ride the wave at least a little bit.
Yeah. We're not showing much ownership on them. So they're Dallas 2 right now is one of my higher owned stacks. Maybe they'll get pushed up a little bit in the next update, but yeah, it's going to be reasonable at the very least. Like they're not going to be chalkier than Nashville, I don't think. So that's all that matters to me right now. Alexiak, 2,700 punt material.
Yeah, that my boy Alexiak in the playoffs, man. That dude in Showdown, just lock him in for 3 block shots a game, 2,700. He is on the second power play. I mean, if you need a punt defenseman, I do like him. Klingberg, 6,200. That's pricey for me. If I'm gonna use I wouldn't use Klingberg as a one-off. I would use him in Dallas stacks only. If I'm gonna one-off, I think it'd be Esa Lindell, 4,900, or Miro Heiskanen. He is a little bit pricey, 5,600. I think Lindell, even though he doesn't see power play time, he is on the top line, top pair, and he does see 20 minutes plus.
Yeah. And there's so many plays tonight. Like I know I'm just gonna look at my exposures after the first goal and just be like, oh yeah, I've got like 10% of this line, and then I'll have 0 if I have a scramble at lock. So again, get your stuff in early, because if you're using an optimizer, not just Fantasy Cruncher, like there's just a lot of different data that the optimizer has to kind of dance through. So just make sure you've got at least a backup plan, a crunch, run it after the show, during the show, do something to prepare yourself in case you're not able to get the lineups that you want to get. I think we are good there. San Jose, Colorado. This one should be pretty quick, I think. 2.4 implied total for the Sharks, 3.5 for the Avs. Marty Jones, Philip Grubauer, your expected goalies here. One note is that Kadri is back with Saad and Burakovsky. Similar third line to what we've seen, I think, to start off the season. Comfort, Val, and Shushkin, and Donskoy. So Avs are stacked. Sharks are not. Is there anything on the Sharks side you're targeting here? Not named Brent Burns?
Well, I think the Sharks moved Timo Meyer down to the third line, I think.
Yeah.
So it's Donato, Couture, LeBanc, and then Kane, Hertl, Leonard. So obviously Colorado won. I mean, I don't have to go into that. I think they're going to be more popular than people think, despite how expensive they are. There's so many value lines you can get in there with them. I mean, I love Colorado one tonight. I think, the Sharks are brutal defensively. Party Marty Jones. I'm well documented that I don't like him as a goalie. I think the second line for the Avs are going to be popular too, Saad, Kadri, Burakovsky. But I think if they're going to be going up against, the Hertl, Kane, Leonard line, I think that favors, Hertl. Even though Colorado is a good defensive team, I think, if you want a low-owned stack here, it's going to be a Hertl, Kane, Leonard. I mean, Hertl and Kane pairing have been very good in a very big sample. It doesn't really matter who the third guy is. I like John Leonard. He's 2,800 power play too. He had a really good season at, well, I think he went to UMass Amherst last year. Now he's in the NHL. I think, this was a line I played a lot early. Even opening night, they were like 1% on DK, and they paid off for me. So for me, it's going to be, Colorado 1, San Jose 2. Then depending on ownership, I would dabble into the second line of Colorado and maybe have a little bit of the Sharks top line, because Couture is under 5,000. That's just ridiculous.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, it sounds like you like this game a little bit more than me. So I think if you were MME, you would get to a bunch of different parts. For me, I don't think I'm going to get too much on the Sharks side here outside of Burns. So good setup option, probably going to be quite a bit lower owned than Yossi and maybe even Carlson. Good spot for a potential combo meal. 5 shots, 3 blocks, and hit the double bonus. And then hopefully you get an assist or 2 in there. So I think it could be potentially a big game for Burns with bonuses. Colorado 1, I guess it just should just tell you where I'm at on them. I'm at 9% Colorado 1. I'd like it to be higher, but it's really tough to pair them with lines that aren't going to be duped in MME. I think pretty good chance that I have at least one Colorado 1 stack in the 360 spin tonight. And then I like the second and third line for Colorado too. I think the Sharks are dust. I think all their lines are probably not going to be very good defensively. And I even like the third line for Colorado, Comfort, Shushkin, and Donskoy. So
yeah, they're super cheap. They're what, 8,500 for the three of them.
They're dirt cheap. So I'm liking that as a deep MME play. If you're going with like Edmonton power play stack or something, throw in Colorado 3. I think that's not a bad idea.
You compare them with Taze or Girard for the power play 2 correlation too. So
there you go. I think that's all I have. Oh, any punt defenseman that you're keen on the Colorado side? Did you mention him already?
I like Bowen Byram tonight, 2,900 on the second pair with Girard. I just think, what's his comp? Like, people have been saying like his comp is Cale Makar. So, I mean, like, you're getting him for less than, obviously he's not the player Cale Makar is right now, but he is $3,200 cheaper than Cale Makar. I think if you need a punt defenseman on the second pair in a game where the Avs are heavily favored going against a bad defensive team, I think that is a decent spot. If you want to, if you know Eric Johnson, 2,700, you know the name, so you could go there too, but I'm more likely to go Byram.
All right. Let's go to the final 3 games. We'll start with Ducks and the Yotes. Probably the quickest game here. 2.6 implied total for the Ducks. 2.8 for the Yotes. Gibson, Kemper. Your expected goalies. I'm sure this one will go completely nuts because I can't find much of anything I'm excited about. So I can just tell you what I got, but that's probably the best I can do. Is there anything that jumps out to you in this game?
Not really. I mean, if the Ducks skaters are getting better ice time, Heinen, Henrique, Silverberg correlate power play 1, but like, I'm not sure I want to go there for 15 minutes of ice time. So this game is kind of a big wash for me. I like the goalies in this game. Gibson, 7,600. I even like Darcy Kemper at 8,000. Kemper's been 6,800 to 7,000, so maybe he goes a bit overlooked tonight. But like I like him at 8,000. And then I guess the only piece that I really like, or maybe don't even really like, but like just a price play is Kevin Shattenkirk, power play 1, 3,400.
Okay. Yeah, he's been playing pretty big minutes, not afraid to shoot, even though not very good, and low ownership. So not a bad guy to mix in, especially for someone like me who's running a bunch of lineups. I will say I did see more than one 2-man stack on the Arizona side that came up. And it was because I did like 5-man power plays, just like onslaughts of Winnipeg and Edmonton and Colorado. I got a couple Pitlick Brassard stacks.
Okay. Well, you got to leave them because remember, was it 2 seasons ago? You went nuts with the Brad Richardson line.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing on that night too is I only had like 3 lineups, but they were all paired with like the nut stacks elsewhere, and they were just like all 3K or something. So basically, when you're doing that type of thing, you're just hoping for 1 goal, and then your power play stack is the nuts, and that's it. So yeah, those are the couple things I got. I don't think I got any Arizona line above 3%, 2%. Yeah, actually, that was my highest owned line, 2.7%, 4 lineups out of 150 currently.
Yeah, I'm not. They're even strength lines. I mean, they can make a couple lines, and I'd be interested in them, but they're not there right now.
All right, I think we're good on this one. Brutal game. Just please don't have 13 goals. Yeah. Blues, Golden Knights, 2.8 implied total for the Blues, 3.1 for the Knights. Binnington and Robin Lehner are your expected goalies. Vegas doing this thing where they're not confirming a goalie like at all this season, I guess. So just put in Lehner. You can always swap down if you're live, or you can just take your 0 with Lehner if you'd like. See it happen all the time. Guys just don't swap down. Probably playing NBA, or maybe they just got Alex Baker money or something like that. It just a couple thousand, doesn't matter. But yeah, I think we're both on Vegas here. I mean, is it a matchup thing, or an ownership thing? What are you seeing on the Vegas side that you like, if anything at all?
One of the big things, because the Vegas second. Hold on one second. Okay. One of the things for me, like on the Vegas side, is that earlier in the season, Marchessault and Smith were both on power play 2. But now Marchessault is on power play 1 at 4,600. So I really like the second line. They're all in the 4,000. So what? They're 9,500, 13, 14. Yeah, they're 14,000. They're going to be probably more popular again than the top line. Pacioretty, Stevenson, Stone. Stevenson's now on power play 2, but Vegas doesn't really see, Vegas power play 2 doesn't really see like super amount of minutes. The one thing I will say, like, I'm probably going to not have much of the Vegas top line just because they're probably going to be matched against the Ryan O'Reilly line. The Blues are a good defense. These are 2 good defensive teams. So, like, I wouldn't be surprised if this was a low-scoring game. But for me, both sides, the second line interests me more than the top line.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of hate what they're doing at the power plays. I guess they stacked up their top one, actually. Is that right? You just went through this. So they stacked up their top.
Stone, Marchessault, Carlson, and Pietrangelo.
Okay, that's what I have on my screen now. I was thinking that they were still messed up. That's way better, actually.
Yeah, because Tuck, they took Tuck off and put him on the second.
Okay. God, I got to redo my lineups. Not that I'm blowing it out for Vegas against St. Louis, but I do think it's a good spot, a good enough spot, at least at the ownership. I really like the second line for Vegas. I kind of like the second line for the Blues just in general. They've been hammering people at 5-on-5. I don't think this is a spot, though, against Vegas. Really good defensive core, really good top 9 for Vegas.
Vegas has been playing the Coyotes all season. So this is the first time they haven't played the Coyotes this season, I think.
Yeah. And their numbers actually aren't that great. Yeah. But even if you give them 80% of what they have, they're still insane. Yeah. I will say the one thing that, because I was looking at this and I was getting a bunch of Vegas in my crunches, The one thing that maybe feel a little bit better about that is just that St. Louis has taken a bunch of penalties, over 5 penalties per game so far this season. So, yeah, I mean, Vegas is super talented. They've got 2 lines that are reasonable here. Maybe people see the St. Louis matchup, they see the prices, they see the implied total, and they get off of it. But I'm interested in both of the top 2 lines. Yeah, the matchup for the Pacioretty Stone line against O'Reilly and Perron isn't great, but I think the line is great. So I'm willing to overlook that at 3-4% ownership or even less. So that's it. Not a whole lot on St. Louis. Would you consider the second line for St. Louis here? I'm trying to decide if I should keep them in.
I like them.
Okay.
And Kyrou always goes under owned just because he's not on the top power play, and his price really hasn't crept up that much. He's been shooting the puck a lot, and he's still only 3,400. Torrey Krug, if you're using that line, I mean, Torrey Krug scored last game, but like, I wouldn't use Torrey Krug as one-off. I'd use Parayko if I was one-offing, and then Vinny Dunn, everyone's enigma is 2,600. So I mean, you can go there. His ice time bothers me. It's up and down,
all over the place, over the place. Yeah, we've talked about this before. And his price jumps around too because of the dynamic pricing. So, I mean, whatever. He's 2,600 and not going to be owned. So, if you want to take a stab at Vince Dunn instead of a 8% Shane Gostisbehere or something like that. And Gostisbehere is he skating with Provorov? Did we know this? Okay. Yeah, I got to check on his minutes and make sure that I've got him projected for probably closer to 20.
I mean, I don't know how many minutes he's going to be playing. He's coming back from coronavirus. So, I don't know if his lungs are completely there, but, even for min price, if you're getting 16, 17 minutes, I think it's fine. Provorov's been playing 24, but I don't think Gostisbehere is going to be up there over 20.
All right. Look at this. We were aiming for 70 minutes, and we're going to be right there. So, thank you all for joining us. We've got one more game, but if you could hit the like button. We've only got 59 likes. Is this correct? Seems a little bit low. We usually get closer to 100. So if you guys could hit the like button, that really helps us out. Looks good for the bosses if they're watching right now, or if they check the numbers, they're like, wow, a lot of likes for the Jake and Josh show. So, yeah, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Check out our new Twitter account as well. Awesemo Nhl Dfs is the handle. And then we do have a giveaway going on right now. I think I forgot to mention this off the top of the show. But basically what you're going to do is go to this tweet. Let me post it on the Awesemo Twitter account. Reply with the name of any NHL player. If you score a goal, you've got a chance to win a free month of Awesemo NHL. So if you haven't gotten a membership already, try this out. Take a guess. And if you get it right, you got a chance to be randomly selected for a Awesemo Plus NHL monthly pass. Pretty good deal for free $99. Only takes a couple seconds. And then you just have to follow the directions. Got to like the tweet, follow Awesemo NHL DFS, Awesemo_com, and Side Action HQ to be eligible. Super easy. Toronto, Calgary, 3.2 implied total for the Leafs, 3.1 for the Flames. Freddie Anderson and Jacob Markstrom are your goalies. Late night hammer here. Well, actually, there's 3 games that start at this time, but this is the last one on my sheet. So in my mind, this is the last game of the slate. What do we like here? Anything at all? I will say it looks like Tavares is going to skate with Nylander and Mikheyev. And then I think probably Hyman up to line 1 and BC down to line 3. That's kind of a guess. But what does that do for you, if anything? We're showing some decent ownership on Matthews.
Yeah, I mean, Matthews' line is what it is. Matthews is going to get ownership regardless of who he's playing with.
Matthews is the nuts now. Look out.
Yeah.
Dog's barking.
My Chihuahua's going bonkers right now. Matthews and Marner always garner ownership. That's an expensive duo. That's 15.6. Hyman's 4,600. So that line's over 20,000. I think, you're going to see a decent amount of Matthews one-offs. You're going to be going against Lindholm, Kachuk, and Mangiapane. So for me, actually my favorite line in this game is the Calgary second line, Gaudreau, Monahan, and Dominic Simon. Monahan and Gaudreau to get together 12-1, but Simon's been priced. He's not on the power play. He's not going to be owned. But I think, if they can get an even strength goal going against the Tavares line, or even they're probably going to avoid the Kerfoot line. So not that the Kerfoot line with Simmons and VC is anything to be scared of now. But for me, obviously everyone knows the Matthews line. But my favorite line in this game is the Monahan line.
Yeah, and I'm actually on the Lindholm, Kachuk, Mangiapane line. So I think we're a little bit different there. But I just like them as a line. I mean, I think Gaudreau and Monahan could be good with Simone. He was really good with Crosby Gensel. Not that Gaudreau and Monahan are Crosby and Gensel, but he can play with good players. So min-priced, 2% ownership if you want to include him in the stack. I don't mind that. I'm kind of finding that Toronto is falling out of the top tier for me when I'm going through my lineups with their ownership compared to like a Colorado one, compared to an Edmonton one. If they're going to be in that range, I mean, even Vegas, like you can get Vegas 1 and 2 for cheaper at way less ownership. And I know the matchup's not as good, but I'm not so certain that this is a great matchup for Matthews and Marner either at 5-on-5 if they're going to see that Lindholm.
People just jam in Matthews, so he's going to have ownership anyway. Like he's going to have that artificial ownership bump just because he's Austin Matthews.
Yeah, exactly. So this isn't the night for me for Matthews. I was only getting to a couple shares in my MME builds, and that was really about it. Anything on the blue line before we hop out of here?
I mean, Rasmus Anderson is power play 1. He's getting a little bit pricey, 5,200. I think that's a little overpriced for him, but if you're using the power play 1 stack, sure. Riley, same reason, same thing. Toronto power play wouldn't really one-off him. I don't really like any one-off defenseman in this game. If you want to use Giordano, he's probably going to be – it's not like a huge game like Burns, but like he's in that price point, and he's probably going to be under-owned because people are going to go to Yossi and Carlson and those kind of guys. And I kind of like Jacob Markstrom in net tonight, 7,700. He's going to see the volume, so kind of like him there. Freddie, not much interest.
Yeah. I kind of hope this one stays quiet, and the Vegas game is the one that goes off. That's what I'm hoping for here. But yeah, if I had to choose a side, it would be the Calgary side, I think. Any last words of advice for this big slate? I know we got a lot of people. Actually, real quick, Clayton, another $5 super chat. I mean, he's just been lining our pockets with super chats all season. So appreciate that. Says thanks for some clarity on a big slate. No question or anything, but yeah, always happy to answer your questions, Clayton. Any last words before we head on out?
If you're in the spin tonight and need some advice, get in that Slack chat. Get your advice from us. Some Cliffy. Bunch of guys who want to help you out. Josh, not me, the other Josh. There's so many guys in that Slack chat willing to help. So get that Awesemo Plus membership, hop in and win some money.
Yeah. If you guys want to join, again, $3.95 is all it takes per week to get into Slack. That is the cheapest package we have. You can get projections ownership, top stack tool, and then of course premium Slack is, I think, a lot of people's favorite. There's a good community that we've got working on in this Slack, just grinding some news all day and poking some fun at each other, poking some fun at my terrible plays. Pitlick Brassard. Can I interest anybody? But yeah, pretty fun slate. Got out of here in 73 minutes, it looks like. So just over time. Thanks to Tyler for producing. Thanks everybody for watching. Hit the like on the way out, and see you back on Thursday. Good luck.
Good luck.